Buckle up for a wild ride. Mr. Buchanan kicks things off with a bombshell, revealing this isn't his first rodeo questioning paternity. He's up to bat again, doubting whether Miss Timberidge's 6-month-old daughter is really his. He's got trust issues galore after past false claims, and now suspects his girlfriend has been too cozy with others, including his former best bud. Stay tuned, the drama ramps up next.
Woman has claimed you are her child's father. First 2 times, DNA testing proved you were not, and you now doubt your girlfriend, Miss Timberidge's 6-month-old daughter, is yours. She is engaged in sexual affairs outside of the relationship, including with your former friend and roommate.
Here comes the soap opera twist. During a seemingly normal day, a store trip turns into a showdown when Eric, Mr. Buchanan's best friend, drunkenly blurts out that he's been with Miss Timberidge. This shocking claim throws a grenade into the already fragile trust between Mr. Buchanan and his girlfriend, leading to accusations flying faster than a speeding bullet. Brace yourself. It spirals even more out of control up ahead.
One day, this is like...
And Eric is your...
supposed best friend.
Supposed best friend, so you get into a confrontation.
We took Eric up to the door. He was in the back seat already drunk. I mean, why are you getting him beer? You know what I'm saying?
He could have got it himself, Your Honor.
I mean, got into an argument over the beer?
So you're best friends with him then, obviously, if you went in there. But anyways.
You can't make this stuff up. After getting out of the clink, Mr. Buchanan finds himself at the center of a boozy betrayal. Homecoming wasn't sweet with evidence of lemon drops, a drink apparently loaded with more significance than vitamin C. These lemon drops hint at naughty escapades between Miss Timberidge and Eric, making Mr. Buchanan's head spin with betrayal. What's next? Even more jaw-dropping revelations.
All right, so I walk in there. What do I see? Lemon drops. Lemon drops laid out everywhere. I ain't talking about no candy. Check it out. She told me about the beer. So when you picked me up, why didn't you fair warn me before I got home? Why are you gonna let me find out by myself? Because you forgot.
I didn't forget too much. It was still there, weren't it?
Grab your popcorn, folks. Miss McNeil steps into the courtroom with gossip that could fuel a reality TV show for seasons. She claims to have caught Miss Timberidge in quite the compromising position. This bombshell adds yet another layer of scandal to an already sizzling situation. What will the next turn reveal in this tangled web of drama?
Says that you witnessed firsthand
Yes, ma'am, I
some
did.
inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
That was not going on, Your Honor.
When I walked in, all I saw was booty in the air.
Things just got real. The plot thickens with a pregnancy test that's positive, sparking a mix of hope and horror in Mr. Buchanan. He's torn between love for the child and lingering doubts about whose genes are swimming in the little one's DNA. They head for a DNA test that could either tie them together or blow their fragile world apart. Next up, the moment of truth.
We take a pregnancy test because Judge talking about she late. I ain't bleed, I'm late, all right? So we took a pregnancy test. Not like positive isn't like good job. Positive isn't like there's something growing in there. That's why I'm denying that little girl, man.
It's the grand finale, folks. The results are in and the courtroom holds its breath.
Mr. Buchanan, you are.
Thank you.
That's a blessing.
Just when you thought it was a regular day in court, Mr. Hardy swings in with full confidence, declaring he's the real father of Taylor, following a jaw-dropping revelation that another dude totally wasn't. He lays out his unshakable belief and the emotional roller coaster it's been, especially after Taylor got wind from her stepmom that there might be a paternity mix-up. Strap in, the drama ramps up from here.
Mr. Hardy, you are here to prove what you have always known. You fathered the defendant's 26-year-old daughter, Taylor. You say your belief proven to be true after Taylor learned another man was not her biological dad in this courtroom.
Come to me and asked me if he was her dad because she said mother told her that he was not.
How old were you then?
12, 13.
Just when the audience catches their breath, bam! The court drops the bomb that Mr. Jennings is not the father, sparking a wildfire of tension. Ms. Lynn throws shade, calling Mr. Hardy a master of manipulation. While he stands his ground, claiming his fatherly role, Ms. Lynn hints at another possible dad, stirring the pot even more. You'll want to stick around. The twists get twistier.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Jennings, you are not the father. Mr. Hardy, you say Ms. Lynn is a master manipulator who has stopped you from being a daddy to your little girl. Claim the plaintiff is not Taylor's biological father, and you intend to prove that
There's a possibility between him and one other person.
In a twist that could make a soap opera blush, Mr. Hardy reminisces about the early days of doubt when Ms. Lynn first announced her pregnancy. Despite feeling sidelined by her family, he recounts his undying efforts to be in Taylor's life, showcasing his commitment against all odds. What unfolds next? More juicy details, of course.
The second time she told me she was pregnant, I doubted it because she had already said she was pregnant before.
So you were told she was pregnant before?
Yes, but she wasn't pregnant that time. So I had my doubts the second time she told me she was pregnant. Believe it until I seen for myself that she was pregnant.
Were you there?
Not
Nope.
at all.
Her parents did everything they could to keep us apart. From the time Taylor was about 9 years of age, I didn't get to see her.
Here's where it gets spicy. Amidst Thanksgiving turkey and pies, Taylor gets skeptical about who her real daddy is, and decides to turn detective, she dives into a personal quest to uncover her biological roots, ending up sending a direct Facebook SOS to Mr. Hardy. The emotional ante is up, and the next chapter is a doozy.
So how did you find that he might be your biological father?
Maybe I was 23, right around there. I had asked my mom, my boyfriend had mentioned that I looked like it. She didn't want to talk about it, and she locked herself in her room because Thanksgiving's not the time to talk about it, you know? And then so I was just like, well, I'm going to take it upon myself, get in touch with people that was her friends.
Reached out to him and you
Yes.
submitted a message to the court.
Yes.
The courtroom's heating up with explosive confessions and accusations flying faster than a reality TV reunion. Each party is at the edge, grappling with the heavy implications of who knew what about Taylor's real dad. Grab your popcorn. The emotional fireworks are just getting started.
At this point in time, I was led to believe that she knew I was her father and that she didn't want to
So
deal
when
with
you
me.
got the message, you were surprised that she was even in a search.
And you're a damn lie. Because I have never once told you that I sat down and told her you were her father. Not once.
You disagree with that, Mr. Hardy?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I was kept away from her. Brandy would move place. There would be years at a time I wouldn't even know where to find her at.
As if the plot needed more thickening, enter Mr. Bryant, another contender for the title of Taylor's bio dad. His arrival throws another curveball into the already muddled paternity mystery, layering on the emotional complexity like a fine dip. The saga continues, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next.
First day, you had sex with Mr. Jennings. Day 2, Mr. Hardy. Next day, day 3, your doctor had given you a 4-day window of conception.
Yep.
So there is another man who could very possibly be your daughter's biological father. How did you find out about him?
The last time I appeared here, then I asked her what his name was, and I looked him up on Facebook.
Because you don't believe Mr. Bryant.
Yes, I don't think I look like him.
You don't think you look like him. You know him?
I've met him twice.
Just when you think you figured it all out, Mr. Bryant steps up to the plate, swinging with claims that he might be Taylor's pops because, guess what? They kind of look alike. His heartfelt belief stirs up all the feels, spotlighting decades of emotional baggage.
Thank you for joining us today. We are here discussing the paternity of this beautiful young woman, Taylor. We've been told that you are a potential biological father. Do you believe you are her biological father?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the court why.
Because she's got so much resemblance of my daughter. I've been believing it for 26 years. It's time to get it over with, you know?
So for 26 years, you've had this in your heart.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just waiting to be unpacked. The DNA reveal is on the horizon, and it's going to be a blockbuster moment.
It has been determined by this court. Taylor's biological father is Mr. Bryant.
Yes! Yes, I told you!
Fasten your seatbelts. You're not going to believe this. Mr. Webb asserts that he has never been intimate with Ms. Cole, which provokes a strong reaction from the audience. Ms. Cole and her supporters immediately dispute his claim, calling him a liar. The judge expresses surprise, highlighting how unusual it is to hear such a defense. Buckle up, because this roller coaster is just getting started.
I never had sex with her, Your Honor.
Well, that would rule you out. You've never had sex with her?
No.
Yeah, he did.
She's a liar. She's crazy.
We've heard a lot of defenses in this courtroom. Rarely have we ever heard that you've never had sex with her.
She's absolutely crazy.
This next bit is a real doozy. Ms. Cole details a specific instance, claiming that on April 11th, Mr. Webb stayed in her bed and they had intimate violence relations, which she believes led to the conception of her daughter. Mr. Webb continues to deny these claims, asserting that their relationship was purely platonic and that he never slept in her bed. A heated argument ensues, with both parties contradicting each other's stories. Hang on tight, the saga continues.
And I know he stayed with me for 2 months, and he slept in my bed with me for one night, and we had sex. April 11th.
That's when you believe you conceived your daughter?
Yeah.
What's the nature of your relationship?
We never had sex or anything. We were just friends. We would chill out. That was it.
You were never intimate with her in any way?
I never stayed in her bedroom. I stayed out on the couch.
That's a lie.
And on top of that, I was only there for a week and a half.
Strap in for more chaos. Ms. Cole and Mr. Webb argue about the nature of his stay at her place, with Ms. Cole asserting that he lived with her for a month and a half, while Mr. Webb insists it was only for a week. The judge attempts to restore order as the argument escalates. Tensions rise as accusations fly back and forth about the nature and duration of Mr. Webb's stay. Just when you think it can't get any wilder, it does.
I wasn't living there. We were hanging out for a week and a half. And on top of that, April 8th, I had moved back to Detroit. How was I there for 3 months?
But why were you staying there with them for a week? You had a girlfriend.
She had knew about it. We were friends. She trusts me. I'm not like that.
And you called me with his friend telling me that he was there 3 weeks and you guys were having sex and blah, blah, blah. At first I did believe that. But then I heard his story and none of it. Shut up, I am talking.
Fasten your seatbelts. Here's a curve. curveball. Mr. Webb presents a series of messages to the judge that he claims will prove his non-involvement with Ms. Cole. He describes the initial contact and the subsequent messages that escalated to accusations of paternity. The conversation in the messages revolves around the pregnancy and Ms. Cole's claims of Mr. Webb being the father. The next part is a real jaw-dropper.
How this went, the first message, she messaged me saying, hey, I got an ultrasound. I said, okay, can we leave it, Natasha? It's not my baby. I'm trying to do right in my life, and this is not doing either of us any good. So just at this point, I'm thinking, I feel like she's trying to say that I'm the baby daddy, but just hinting, not actually saying. What came next? I told her, I said, I'm not trying to be mean. I just want this to end. Because I'm not a mean person. I'm not a hateful person.
Next up, another whopper. Ms. Cole acknowledges there was another potential father involved around the time of conception. She explains the situation to the judge, including how the due date changes influenced her certainty about the paternity. The judge reviews a calendar submitted by Ms. Cole that outlines the timeline of her interactions with Mr. Webb and the other man. Wait until you hear what comes next.
As soon as I took the pregnancy test, immediately texted him and called the other guy, and I took both of them. For certain that the other guy was the dad until my due date got changed. It went from February 22nd to January 28th.
That is the date you were intimate with Mr. Webb, on the 11th of April.
Yeah, my conception was...
The window of conception is in blue, so that's the week prior to the 11th.
This will crack you up. In a dramatic revelation, Ms. Cole makes a crass remark about Mr. Webb's anatomy to assert her familiarity with him, which is met with mixed reactions from the audience. Her claim is meant to prove intimacy, but it only adds tension and ridicule to the proceedings. The judge struggles to maintain decorum as the court reacts to the inappropriate comment. Get ready for the climax. It's a hoot.
She was dark up until she was
born.
She lightened up.
Can't even.
And this picture is to show what exactly?
That baby don't look nothing like.
So you're saying there's absolutely no resemblance?
Absolutely. That baby's just straight white.
I ain't white, I'm brown.
Yes, he is. He's Puerto Rican and Indian. Yeah, he's brown.
You see my skin color? Are you blind?
You've seen his body, so you know he is brown.
Get this girl some glasses.
We know that children come in all colors. Moving on. Mr. Webb, you are not father.
Strap in, because this one's a doozy. Mr. Pitchford Kendricks kicks off the proceedings with a bombshell, asserting that he is indeed the biological father of the defendant's 2-month-old son, Javier. He suspects that the paternity denial is simply because the mother wants to be with another man, hoping to convince him to take up the father role. This moment lays the groundwork for what promises to be a roller coaster of emotions and accusations. And trust me, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Opened your case to prove are the biological father of the 2-month-old son. You claim she is denying paternity only because she wants to be with another man and needs to be the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just when you think you've heard it all, Ms. Saavedra throws a curveball by admitting to a menage a trois that included Mr. Pitchford Kendricks, but remains steadfast in her belief he is not Javier's dad. Her firm denial amidst such a tangled web of bedtime stories highlights the complicated personal entanglements at play. Buckle up, because the emotional whirlwind is just picking up speed.
Ms. Saavedra, you admit you allowed 2 men into your bed at the same time, but you are convinced that Mr. Pitchford Kendrick is not Javier's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You'll want to grab some tissues for this one. An emotional Mr. Pitchford Kendricks shares his poignant backstory of growing up without a father in Detroit, driven by a resolve to ensure his son doesn't endure the same fate. His heartfelt testimony not only tugs at the heartstrings, but also sets high personal stakes in his quest for paternity truth. And just when you think it can't get more heartfelt, the courtroom is about to turn up the heat.
Well, Your Honor, I grew up in the streets of Detroit, no dad in my life, and I just want to make sure my son doesn't have to grow up.
That's a beautiful basket there. You brought that for your son. You say you grew up without your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me what that was like growing up, your dad.
It was kind of stressful being in school and seeing my classmates and stuff, having their parents come up there, both of them.
Twists and turns are the flavors of the day. The plot thickens as we learn that Ms. Saavedra and the man she believes is Javier's real dad decided to spice up their rocky relationship by inviting Mr. Pitchford Kendricks into the mix. The revelation of their adventurous bedroom escapades adds layers of complexity to the paternity puzzle, proving that this is no ordinary paternity case. Hold on, because the next revelation is a real kicker.
Me and the man that I believe is Javier's father, Maurice, was getting rocky. Decided to include Greg, our mix, and try and spice things up.
So how often was that happen?
It happened
off and on for like 10 years.
What?
You might need a flowchart for this one. Mr. Pitchford Kendricks delves deep into the backstory, explaining how he originally connected Ms. Saavedra with his cousin, which spiraled into a decade of on and off romantic entanglements and threesomes. This tangled tale of relationships gone wild complicates the paternity question even further, painting a picture of a very complicated love web. And believe it or not, it's about to get even wilder.
Well, a half cousin of mine.
A half cousin? cousin?
Yeah, he my cousin's cousin.
You were dating a woman, you ended up sleeping with her roommate. You developed a friendship with that roommate, and then she asked you to introduce her to somebody, so you introduced her to your cousin. Her and your cousin invited you into their bed threesome when their relationship needed spicing up.
Here's where it gets spicy. In a critical twist, Mrs. Saavedra pinpoints the night she believes Javier was conceived, linking it to an unprotected liaison during a tumultuous time in her primary relationship. This key moment is crucial for untangling the convoluted timeline of events and may just be the clue to solving the paternity mystery. Fasten your seatbelts, because the courtroom drama is about to explode.
I think Javier was conceived because that's when the unprotected happened. Like the times we had threesomes, I was trying to reach him, you know what I'm saying? So, and wear a condom, but I kind of liked it her from the first time I had seen her and stuff, so.
So what are you saying? So when you had the threesomes with your cousin and her, you would wear a condom?
Yeah, for respect for him.
Because that's respect.
The plot thickens, and so does the tension. Ms. Saavedra reaches out to Maurice, her primary partner, upon discovering her pregnancy, setting off a chain of confrontations and accusations about who the real father could be. This segment is a roller coaster of emotions, highlighting the strain and turmoil that paternity uncertainty can wreak on personal relationships. And just when you think it can't get more intense, the next chapter adds even more fuel to the fire.
I contacted Maurice, told him I was pregnant.
Contact the guy that really was your boyfriend. So when you told him you were pregnant, did he say, it's not my baby, it's Mr. Kendrick?
He didn't say anything to the degree at the time. We talked about it later on.
Afterwards, he called me trying to act like, these your babies over here, dog. I'm telling you when I see you on, man. You got me over here taking care of your babies. Cause between both of the babies, like before her first baby was born, that's when the threesome started.
Grab your popcorn, folks. The judge steps in with a conception calculator, attempting to scientifically determine the likely window of Javier's conception amidst the chaos of conflicting testimonies and convoluted personal narratives. This attempt to inject some scientific rationality into the proceedings underscores the court's effort to cut through the emotional fog with some hard facts, and you won't believe what comes next.
Conception calculator, because you all just over the place. So Javier's birthday is January 9th, 2019. Conception window is between 12th and April 18th.
That's not when he was due. He was born early. He was due January 26th.
We was having threesomes.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pitchford Kendrick, you are not the father.
Can you believe what we're seeing here? Miss Brooks is clearly upset as Mr. Page denies paternity of their son, Ivian, after planning to have this child together. She vividly describes how Mr. Page, a younger man, swept her off her feet following her previous long-term relationship. However, he is now questioning the child's paternity, accusing Miss Brooks of an affair with another man, Tony Wilson. Grab your popcorn, because this is just the start of the drama.
Ms. Brooks, you state, after getting out of a 9-year relationship, you fell in love with Mr. Page, a younger man who you say swept you off your feet. You claim both you and Mr. Page planned to have a child together, but since giving birth to your son, Ivian, Mr. Page is now denying the child you so desperately wanted to have.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's he thinking? Mr. Page is adamant that he isn't Ivian's father, blaming Miss Brooks's frequent outings with Mr. Wilson. His frustration is palpable as he details his work schedule and his growing suspicions about her loyalty due to her evasive behavior and social escapades. The pot is about to boil over, so stick around.
Mr. Page, you state you know the child isn't yours. Ms. Brooks was having an ongoing of another man by the name of Wilson.
Yes.
You say Mr. Wilson, who is also here today to be the father of her son and has even posted pic on social media, fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
This just keeps getting thicker. Alongside the paternity mess, Miss Brooks and Mr. Page dive into other boiling issues in their relationship. Mr. Page throws in complaints about Miss Brooks's handling of money, painting a picture of financial chaos and mismatched expectations that have been straining their life together. We'll want to see what happens next. Things are getting spicy.
It stimulates from the paternity issues, because at first, when we first got together, it was lovely. When I first was pregnant, he did everything. He was there. He was good, like during the pregnancy, and then everything changed. I think it has a lot to do with
No, everything ain't changed, Your Honor. What changed is her coming home at night with her and my son being around Mr. Wilson, her friend.
Did that really just happen? As Mr. Page airs his doubts, he points to the supposed timeline of his relationship with Miss Brooks, suspecting infidelity during the conception period. He brings up a social media post by Mr. Wilson that suggests a much closer relationship with both Ivian and Miss Brooks, intensifying his doubts. The next revelation is a doozy. Don't miss it.
So you feel like she was cheating on you sometime during the window of conception.
Yes,
Tell
Your
me
Honor.
about that doubt.
She knew Black longer than she knew me, so they've been messing around or whatever they've been doing. I know Black's Facebook page is dedicated just to her and my son, and I have evidence right here saying that.
That is just my friend. We take
Tell me if that looks like a relationship or a friendship.
Buckle up, this ride is getting wilder. The courtroom scrutinizes photos and social media updates that show Mr. Wilson with Ivy on, implying he's more than just a friend. Mr. Page sees these as confirmation of his suspicion about the nature of the relationship between Miss Brooks and Mr. Wilson. Wait till you see what comes out of the woodwork next.
These are all photos of you.
All dedicated to Mr.
Wilson. That's the baby in there?
That's just a picture of me and them.
It's one of his file pictures.
Yes, I'm the best thing that's...
I mean, look at that.
And then that's Mr. Wilson, Ivy on.
He is really upset because...
How's he been there?
Because you're not.
With him. Milk, I buy what I got.
When you're not there, he is there. Mr. Page does things, but he does the bare minimum.
You thought it couldn't get more heated? During a fiery exchange, Miss Brooks and Mr. Page go head-to-head over her interactions with Mr. Wilson. He accuses her of neglect, while she argues that Mr. Wilson has been a pillar of support. Things are about to get even more heated. Keep watching, because the gloves are coming off.
Mr. Wilson walks around my son. He does not let it be known that he's not the father. He does not let it be known that he's the father.
But how is that my fault?
He's his. You're right with him. What do you
How is that my fault? No, and you know feel about that. And I'm talking to you. Your Honor, right now.
And he's walking around telling them they're having sex.
Who's he telling this to?
Mr. Wilson does go around saying that he had sex with me. I did not know that if I recently found out.
I heard it from her.
Of course, because
and they're
I'm
still
upset
best
about
friends.
this. Because
just when you think you've seen it all, Mr. Wilson steps up, testifying about his godfather-like relationship with Ivy on and insisting he hasn't crossed any lines despite Mr. Page's accusations. His testimony could change everything. Keep your eyes peeled, because this is a pivotal moment.
Please describe for the court your relationship with Miss Brooks.
Oh, we're still best friends. One of the fellas. That's my homie, except for she a female.
What is your relationship like with her son?
I'll be honest, that's my godson. I love him. On my lunch breaks, I stop past Sam. I spend time with him, take him to the park. How would that be allowed? You never there. You too busy playing the game, chilling with your homeboys and friends.
You won't believe this twist. The spotlight turns to Mr. Page's frequent absences and his alleged lack of involvement with Ivian. Miss Brooks accuses him of minimal participation, which he defends by citing his job demands and limited time. Climax is coming up, and it promises to shake things up significantly.
Every time I go to work, my son go over his house. One night, I was calling him from my job, but once I get off, I can't get a hold of him. When I get to the house, my son is not there. She's not there. Nobody's picking up the phone. I'm walking all around.
So what about when you disappear for days at a time?
I don't disappear. I go to work.
Yes, you do. Every day when you leave out there, your phone not even on. Call while you at work. Then you would know where your son was at. You don't know. Find out at the end of the day.
I just told you where my son was at.
Here comes the moment of truth.
It has been determined by this court. You are not the father.
Told you. Told you.
Hold on to your seats. Mr. Kennedy makes a theatrical entrance claiming he's dragged into court despite being a good guy, just to prove he's not the father of Ms. Pope's 3-month-old son, Christian. He's adamant about his innocence in this baby drama. Ms. Pope and her mother are visibly frustrated, insisting Mr. Kennedy owns up since he played a part in the baby-making process. Mr. Kennedy throws a curveball, suggesting Ms. Pope might just be looking for a scapegoat for her baby daddy woes. And just when you think it's all simmering down, the pot's about to boil over in the next segment.
Mr. Kennedy, you claim to be a nice guy who was to make the tough decision to drag the defendant to court, prove you did not father her 3-month-old son, Christian.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pope, you and your mother are that Mr. Kennedy denies paternity and refused to acknowledge your child. You say he laid down with you and now he has up and paid.
Yes, Your Honor.
You won't believe this. The plot thickens as they unpack the friends with benefits setup that never had any strings attached, or so Mr. Kennedy claims. Ms. Pope airs out some dirty laundry, revealing Mr. Kennedy wasn't the Prince Charming he initially seemed to be. Fast forward, where he accuses her of not being over her ex, tossing another spicy meatball into the mix. Buckle up, because the revelations just keep rolling out.
No, we never did. It never had a chance to take off. We did get along in the beginning. He was a jerk, and I no longer wanted to be around that.
Why were you sleeping with him if he was a jerk?
He came off as an all-American guy in the beginning. We had a lot of things in common. We had the same day, the same football team.
That's enough to sleep with somebody, birthday and a football team. The bottom line is you all got along in the beginning.
The stakes are getting higher. Mr. Kennedy confesses he started ghosting Ms. Pope right when she needed him most, post-pregnancy announcement. He's backpedaling, recalling the murky details of the pregnancy news peppered with mentions of other potential daddies. Grab your popcorn, because the drama unfolds even more in the next chapter.
I found out that I was pregnant at 6 weeks. A cutie one morning and threw it up at work. I put the 2 and 2 together. It wasn't rocket science, and I knew that I was pregnant.
And Mr. Kennedy, do you remember when she told you she was pregnant?
Told me around May or June or July. At that point, she had said there were 2 other gentlemen, and I had asked her, could it potentially
potentially be mine, and she said, no, you're in the clear. So
things take a turn for the digital, where a Facebook message becomes Exhibit A. Ms. Pope had pinged Mr. Kennedy with a baby pic, which sparks a whole new level of paternity paranoia. As the judge scrolls through the messages, the courtroom feels more like a soap opera set. Don't touch that dial. The next moments are guaranteed to amp up the drama.
She tell you were the father?
Through Facebook, I got messages.
It is your testimony that she did not tell you, she didn't tell you anything about the pregnancy, anything. You didn't hear from her until the baby was born.
Yes,
I had messaged him the night that I went into labor.
Some message. I've been trying to get a hold of you. I want to call you and talk. Reply about. She replies, would you like to guess?
Cue the violins as Mr. Kennedy reflects on his personal visit to see the baby, searching for any sign of a family resemblance. He pledges his commitment to fatherhood, assuming the DNA stars align. Ms. Pope calls him out for his lackluster dad vibes, to which he retorts with tales of mixed signals. The emotional roller coaster is just getting started, so stay tuned for the climactic close.
6-hour trip out of my day to go up and actually see the child with my own eyes, just to make sure she was being truthful. I didn't get anything until after the child was born. For a while, trying to gather, anything, any kind of quirks that might relate him to myself or my other, find any similarities between him and I, and that was basically it. Went up mainly just to see the baby from my own eyes, just to make sure that this wasn't a ruse of some sort.
As they lay out their final arguments, both sides are throwing everything but the kitchen sink into the ring. Mr. Kennedy is all in for a paternity test, while Ms. Pope paints a picture of a roller coaster relationship ride. The judge sums up the saga, setting us up for a DNA result that promises to be a game changer. The suspense is real, folks.
And Ms. Pope, as much as I understand if he is not biological father, do you know where the other two gentlemen are?
Yes, Your Honor.
And would they want to be a part of Christian's life? Would they put themselves available to testing so that we can get this confirmed once and for all for this beautiful baby? It has been determined by this court. Mr. Kennedy, you are the father.
Mr. Lang is all in his feelings, wishing hard that little Janelle is his, despite the swirling cloud of doubt hanging over him. On the flip side, Ms. Brown and her mom are 100% certain there's no other dad in the picture, puzzled by the Lang's angst.
Now, Ms. Brown, you and your mother also here today claiming there's absolutely no possible father for your baby. You argue that neither of you can understand why the Langs are so distraught today because they haven't bothered to see the child in months.
Ms. Lang drops a bombshell, accusing Ms. Brown of sneaking around with her son's lifelong pal, Mr. Dixon, stirring up a paternity puzzle. Ms. Brown fires back, totally denying the fling, defending her honor against the sandbox betrayal saga.
Miss Brown slept with my son's best friend from the sandbox best friend, Mr. Dixon's.
Is that true?
No,
Ms.
that's
Brown?
not true, Your Honor. I've never slept with Mr. Dixon. Mr. Dixon and Mr. Lang been not friends for a while. They've been going at it, trying to fight each other.
Ms. Brown reminisces about Mr. Lang's over-the-moon reaction to her pregnancy news. Quite the contrast to his mom, who's brewing a storm of suspicion, especially after Mr. Dixon throws in his 2 cents, hinting the baby might be his.
I was at the doctor. I came home and I gave him the paper saying I was pregnant. He kept the paper. He kept it with to show everybody, oh, I have a baby on the way. The whole entire pregnancy, birth and delivery. He was happy to have a baby.
Mr. Lang, when you found out I was pregnant, you were happy about it. Did you have any doubts at that time?
Not at that time, no, I didn't.
At the baby's grand entrance, Mr. Lang is there, scissors in hand, ready to cut the cord. Yet, as he looks down at the newborn, doubts cloud his joy, all thanks to a suspicious hairline that doesn't quite match up.
I said, oh, look at your baby, woo, 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 no. And then he pulled the hat off. He said, Mom, what's up with this hair loss? Daddy is 51 years old. Put it back. I said, Jimmy, let the baby's just born. Just knock it off.
Because
just don't do that.
Mr. Lang, you are not father. Are you serious?
Strap in for this roller coaster. Judge Lake begins the hearing by stating the case of Mora vs. Platt, where Ms. Mora seeks to prove Mr. Platt is the father of her 3-year-old daughter in order to have him acknowledge her and sign the birth certificate. And guess what? It's just the tip of the iceberg.
The case of Mora versus Platt.
You opened your case to prove that the defendant, Mr. Platt, is 3-year-old daughter, Anaya's biological father, in hopes that he will acknowledge her, finally sign her birth certificate.
Correct, Your Honor.
This one's a doozy. Mr. Platt expresses his doubt about being the father, leading Ms. Mora to emphasize how crucial it is for her daughter's birth certificate to list her father, relating it to her own upbringing without a father. You'll want to stick around because what comes next is a real eyebrow raiser.
Mr. Platt, you say you refuse to be legally responsible for a child. You seriously doubt.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Mora.
It's important to me, you know what I'm saying, my daughter's father on her birth certificate, you know what I'm saying, I've come from a broken family. My dad was never in my life, not on my birth certificate. My daughter deserves the best, you know what I'm saying, and this is why I'm here today, because I'm gonna make sure that his name is gonna be on that birth certificate.
Did that just happen? Mr. Platt recounts that Ms. Mora was still living with her ex when they started dating, which led to his doubt about the paternity of the child, as their relationship began under complex circumstances. But hold on, the plot thickens even more just around the corner.
Before we even met, like, Sue was living with somebody else.
So when you met met her and you all started talking, she was living. How did your relationship begin?
A little website, you know what I'm saying? I was my ex. I explained to Mr. Dad, I was with him, I lived with him. He was like, okay, cool, we're gonna talk, whatever. He to it, you know what I'm saying?
You can't make this stuff up. Ms. Mora admits to still living with her ex, even after realizing she was pregnant, which fuels Mr. Platt's doubts about paternity, particularly as she alternated between him and her ex during this period. Watch out, because the drama escalates in the next scene.
I was living with him.
And were you intimate with the other guy and Ms. Platt?
I don't know.
Because we get a lot of people that come into this courtroom, they were broken up, so they couldn't get pregnant because they were broken up.
That's why I have the doubt, you know what I mean?
And
because he would always back and forth, and then
you kept going back and forth between the two men, Mr. Platt and then the ex, back and forth. At some point, you realized pregnant.
Here's where it all gets tangled. Ms. Mora discusses how she informed Mr. Platt about her pregnancy and his initial acceptance, followed by the complications arising from her ex being present at the hospital during the birth, which Mr. Platt did not attend. The tension is mounting. What's coming next is even more gripping.
The first 3 months, he was cool with it. He would come to my mom, and this is why I say, right after I found out, I ended up moving with my mom because he was there.
Mr. Platt, you were present during the pregnancy?
for like the beginning of 3 months.
So now, why weren't you at the birth, Platt?
It's because that he was there, present at the hospital.
He was.
You know what I mean? I wasn't.
Hospital when you had the baby?
Platt, I talked to Platt the day before I had my daughter, thinking that it wasn't his baby. The other guy didn't show up at 7 o'clock that night. Stayed the 3 days in the hospital with.
You won't believe this twist. Despite his involvement during the pregnancy and after the birth, Mr. Platt continues to doubt his paternity, influenced by Ms. Mora's ongoing interactions with her ex, which complicates their relationship and his role in the child's life. But wait, there's more drama ahead that will definitely catch your attention.
See, I don't understand this. He's saying still to this day he is. He said that, oh, he's not supposed to have no ties.
Because
so you've been lying to me then.
No, he wasn't willing to step up and take that place.
I stepped up for the past year and a half and still letting the dude see him. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
And I've been doing rent and
You say for the past year and a half, she's 3.
Oh, the intrigue. Ms. Mora attempts to prove Mr. Platt's paternity with photos comparing features of their child to Mr. Platt, but his uncertainty remains, leading to a discussion about the genetic possibilities of paternity influenced by prior miscarriages with another partner. As we move forward, the stakes get even higher.
And I have pictures, you know, sometimes in the beginning I had to look like...
What are those pictures?
In the beginning, like I was doing a comparison, like she has my nose.
Step up to the monitor and describe what you are looking at.
She has my cheek. As far as in the eyes, like she has her eye. And in the next picture, she's starting to change a little bit, like she has my ear still, but her eyes looks like the other guy's eyes.
This is a real head scratcher. Judge Lake comments on the complexity and ongoing interaction between Ms. Mora, her ex, and Mr. Platt, expressing confusion and concern about the stability and clarity of the familial relationships for the child. Brace yourself, because what unfolds next is a major reveal.
Even this little smile he does is he's kind of laughing.
I know the other dude is not, because we've had so many miscarriages, and our last miscarriage was right before Anaya, and I lost that baby when I was 5 months. I was already in second trimester.
And here we go, the big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Platt, you are father.
Can you believe this start? Case of Lindsay versus Dannenbrink kicks off, throwing us into a paternity dispute that's as tangled as a daytime soap opera. Ms. Lindsay steps up, claiming after a lifetime of secret, she's pinpointed her real dad, Mr. Dannenbrink. She's all set to lay down the proof in court, sparking curiosity about how this drama will unfold. Just wait, it's going to get even juicier.
Case of Lindsay versus Dannenbrink.
Ms. Lindsay, you say that after of lies from your mother and uncertainty about who your father is, you believe you finally found him.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say everyone in town, including his family, knows Mr. Dannenbrink is your father, and you intend to prove that.
Hold on to your popcorn, folks. Mr. Dannenbrink dives into his side of the story, admitting to a fling with Ms. Lindsay's mom, but vehemently denies being the father. He paints a picture of their fling as a hit and run, making it clear, in his view, fatherhood is out of the question.
Yes, Your Honor.
You admit to having a sexual relationship with Ms. Lindsay's mom, but say there is no way you're biological father.
That's right, Your Honor. I'm her, and we had like a hit and run situation. She disappeared on me. Then we got back together again, and a couple days later, she went her way. It just kept on for years that way. There's no way she could be my daughter, Your Honor.
You're not ready for this bombshell. Ms. Lindsay drops a community-sized clue, claiming that everyone, including Mr. Dannenbrink's own kin, sees him as her dad. A confrontation with an ex of Mr. Dannenbrink adds more spice, insisting Ms. Lindsay is his child. Up next, the plot thickens tremendously.
About 35 years ago, my mom does admit to having a child with Mr. Dannenbrink.
How many years ago?
About 35. When I was about 16 years old, an ex, Mr. Dannenbrink, came to my house, and being the child that they had had together. When I had asked my mother about that, she told me no, that it wasn't true.
Guess what happens next? Several years back, all involved parties crossed paths again, leading to neighborly ties and shared holidays. Despite these close encounters, Ms. Lindsay never broached the paternity topic with Mr. Dannenbrink, fearing rejection.
So about 4 or 5 years ago, we all pretty much met up again in church. I knew that Dannenbrink Brink was the person that I had thought, or at least was, so I just left it alone. And my mother and him had started talking again. I guess you would say, lived right next door to each other, and we started having barbecue, spent a few holidays together and things like that.
The man next door, your neighbor.
Yes.
You believe he's your biological father?
Yes.
This part is a tearjerker with a twist. Doubts about her mother's honesty push Ms. Lindsay to probe public records, finding nothing to back up familial claims. Her emotional journey through this discovery process peels back layers of family secrets. The climax is near, and it's a doozy.
Your mother's saying that Mr. Dannenbrink is not your biological father.
The doctors did say that I was born a month early, but they all said that I was going to be a boy the entire time she's pregnant with me. So they could have been wrong. My mom does admit to having a child with Mr. Dannenbrink, though the dates have kind of changed a little bit. I remember at one time it was that she was an older sister. Then I remember at another time she was a younger sister than me. She was stillborn at birth.
Buckle up for the finale.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Dannenbrink, you are not.
Sorry.
Here we go. The case of Davies versus Hunter kicks off with a bang. Ms. Davies accuses Mr. Hunter, after 5 years together and a planned wedding, of calling it quits due to rumors and denying paternity of their son Jaden. She's in court to set the record straight and prove he's the father. Grab your popcorn, because this drama is just getting started.
This is the case of Davies versus Hunter.
You say that after being with Mr. Hunter for 5 years, he's now given into lies and rumors about your past, scrapped your wedding plans, and is now denying your son Jaden.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you handle this twist? Mr. Hunter admits he has serious doubts about being Jaden's dad, citing Ms. Davies' sketchy past and even claiming he caught her cheating red-handed. He's adamant about needing proof of paternity before they can even think about fixing their relationship. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for what comes next.
Mr. Hunter, you say you've never fully accepted that Jaden is son because Ms. Davies has a questionable past. Fact, you say you believe you even caught her in the act of cheating on you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, the plot thickens. Both sides throw some dirty laundry in the air, admitting they've cheated due to mutual suspicions fueled by shady texts and calls found on each other's phones. The audience gasps when Ms. Davies says she entertained other men as revenge for Mr. Hunter's escapades. And guess what? There's more tea coming right up.
Well, Your Honor, we met 5.5 years ago through a mutual friend. I would say we were happy we first got together. Then I started finding text messages, phone calls from other females. So at the point of the relationship, Your Honor, I no longer trusted him.
Well, I found messages in her phone too. Same thing. So that's why I started doing the things I was doing.
Hold on to your seats. The stakes skyrocket as Ms. Davies spills about unprotected liaisons with another man while she was still with Mr. Hunter, throwing Jaden's paternity into doubt. She clings to the hope that Mr. Hunter is the dad, despite the tangled web of lies. You won't believe the bombshells dropping next.
Well, once I briefly had a relationship with the guy. We were sexually together a few times.
Did you use
Watch
protection?
it with me.
A couple times we did not, Your Honor.
That's pretty much why we're here. You find out you're pregnant.
He was denying my son from the gate. I found messages, I know you were other guys, so are you sure this is my son? I said, yes, I'm sure this is your son.
This gets messier by the minute. Mr. Hunter dives deeper into his doubts, rattling off rumors and first-hand sightings of Ms. Davies' sketchy escapades, including times she supposedly hopped in and out of cars with other dudes. The plot is thickening fast, so don't go anywhere.
People tell me that she been hanging out, hopping in and out of cars, you know what I mean? I had a friend that told me they went to a party one time with some guy at the party. That was around the time when the baby was going to be conceived.
I did go to party, but as far as me hooking up with guys at a party, that is false, Your Honor.
Did that really just happen? The emotional roller coaster hits a peak, discussing Jaden's birthday bash that Mr. Hunter skipped, highlighting the depth of their personal and co-parenting struggles. It's a mess, and it's only going to get messier. Stay tuned, because the next revelation is a doozy.
He's present in the home, but he does not physically interact with Jaden. We just had a birthday party for Jaden. Devon didn't show up.
Why didn't you show up to the child's birthday party, Mr. Hunter?
And she gonna start tripping on me and all kind of stuff, because we were, like, at that time, she was mad at me anyway. So
doesn't matter, you're still supposed to show up to his birthday party.
If I came to the birthday party, she would have been jumping all over me in front of all the guests at the birthday party.
Are you ready for this? As the courtroom drama winds down, couple reflects on their rocky relationship and its impact on little Jaden. Ms. Davies tries to connect the dots with physical traits she claims Jaden shares with Mr. Hunter. The verdict is up next, and you're not going to want to miss it.
Ms. Davies, I heard you just say I know for certain I have
Mr. Hunter's hair, and look at my son's. They both have curly hair, nice hair. My hair is nothing like that. My hair is nappy. I need a perm.
Both of their hair look a mess, but I'm gonna give the baby a pass.
I was getting mine done, Your Honor.
And I understand you're looking at texture of hair.
You thought that was wild? Wait till you hear this.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Hunter, you are not father.
I told you.
Brace yourselves, folks. The case is introduced, involving Mr. and Mrs. Knowles and Mr. Lindsley in a paternity dispute. The Knowles assert that Mr. Lindsley is not the father of the 3-month-old son, Tyler Jr., and accuse him of disrupting their family life. The room is buzzing. You won't believe what's coming up next.
Mr. and Mrs. Knowles previously appeared in court with the defendant for a paternity case involving another child. You're back today because this love triangle has led you to yet another paternity dispute. Mr. and Ms. Knowles, you say you need to prove to Mr. Lindsay that he is not father of your 3-month-old son, Tyler Jr., and believe he's claiming paternity to bust up your happy family.
Well, this is a curveball. Mr. Lindsley claims Mrs. Knowles was simultaneously involved with him and her husband. He is convinced that he is the father of her child and expresses his intention to seek custody. The moment is intensified by Mrs. Knowles revealing her pregnancy situation in a hospital room, attended by both men. Just when you think it can't get any more intense, the next clip proves you wrong.
Mrs. Knowles doesn't want to admit she was with you, her husband, during the same time, and once you're proven to be her child's father, you will fight for custody.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you found out you were pregnant, who did you tell?
Me.
Him.
Me.
He was in the hospital with.
I was in the hospital room.
When I said, who did you tell? When I found out you were pregnant, I heard 2 me.
No, I told Mr. Knowles because he was in the room with me.
Are you ready for this? Mr. Lindsley provides a calendar as evidence, claiming Mrs. Knowles was living with him during the conception period, despite her claims of reconciliation with her husband in March. This revelation brings confusion about the exact timeline of Mrs. Knowles' living situation. The plot thickens. Hold on to your seats for what happens next.
What I have calculated up and with the evidence that I have here, she was either sleeping with both of us or sleeping with me, living at my house during the time that she would have conceded. She claims that she was back with Mr. Knowles around the 22nd of March, and she actually didn't move out of my house closer to the end of April.
Here comes a twist. Mrs. Knowles attempts to clarify her living arrangements, presenting photos as proof of her presence in her family home in March. Mr. Lindsley disputes this, maintaining that she lived with him until April. This dispute over timelines continues to complicate the paternity question. Strap in. The roller coaster isn't over yet.
Your Honor, no, that's not right. We pictures of me and my other kids and Mr. Knowles in our house.
On my Facebook page, I took a picture of me and my oldest on our couch on March 22nd.
There's no way.
Issue is that doesn't mean that she wasn't still intimate with Mr. Lindsley in April.
Didn't see that coming. The discussion shifts towards personal belongings and living situations post-breakup. Mr. Knowles interjects about picking up Mrs. Knowles' belongings from a different location, contradicting Mr. Lindsley's claims that she stayed with him longer. Just wait. The next moment takes it up a notch.
All of her stuff was at a different house, not Mr. Lindsley's.
Because she destroyed my house as she moved her stuff out. That's another story.
She wasn't even really staying with Mr. Lindsley at the time.
She was staying with a friend of hers.
So then that means that she wouldn't have even been staying with you until the closer beginning of May.
Me and Mr. Lindsley actually separated in the middle of March.
This is getting real. Mr. Knowles passionately asserts his belief that he is the biological father of the child, citing physical resemblances. The emotional stakes are high as he expresses his desire to resolve the paternity issue and eliminate the ongoing conflict with Mr. Lindsley. Get ready, because what's next will surely surprise you.
Tearing us apart because that little boy right there, I know he's mine. Anybody can tell you he's my child. He's got my eyes, he's got my hair, he's even got my...
Your hairline?
He looks like me all around. He's my little prodigy.
I just want to get the results, Your Honor, and done with him, period. Chaotic. I want to move on with my family, be away from all this.
This is a pivotal point. As the case nears its conclusion, Mr. Lindsley still insists he could be the father, leading to a tense exchange about Mrs. Knowles' fidelity and the exact timing of her relationships. The judge stresses the importance of resolving the paternity for the sake of the child involved. Buckle up for the dramatic reveal ahead.
You have the baby, and you named the baby Tyler Jr.
Which, when she called me about having the baby, she told me a whole nother name. Remember the exact name she told me, but she didn't.
Okay, but what matters is what's on his birth certificate. Because my name is on his birth certificate.
What matters in terms of name, what's on the birth certificate, but the truth is, just means it's his legal name.
And now, the big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Knowles.
Can you believe this opener? At the beginning of the episode, Mr. Harvey steps up and claims he is not the father of Ms. Jett's child, demanding a whopping $496.50 back for baby supplies he bought under duress. He argues these expenses were unfairly demanded by Ms. Jett, who in turn throws a curveball by asking for a paternity test to prove Mr. Harvey's paternity. Buckle up, the ride's just starting.
Mr. Harvey, you are asked court to award you $496.52 for baby supplies you say the defendant, Ms. Jett, demanded for a child child you adamantly deny is yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Talk about a plot twist right out of the gate. Mr. Harvey spills the beans on how he met Ms. Jett through a dating site, and bam, she was pregnant practically before the second date. They shacked up almost immediately, yet Ms. Jett swears the baby making happened a tad later than Mr. Harvey recalled. Just when you thought you'd heard it all. Ms. Jett is over the moon when she shares the big news of her pregnancy with Mr. Harvey, who's initially thrilled, thinking he's about to be a dad. However, Paradise lost. She jets back to Orlando, citing Mr. Harvey's wandering ways as the deal breaker. Trust me, what's coming next will knock your socks off. Courtroom drama intensifies. Mr. Harvey, armed with receipts, stands his ground, proving he didn't just shop for baby supplies. He practically filled a nursery at Ms. Jett's insistence, but Ms. Jett counters, claiming the shopping list wasn't fully checked off. The judge dives into the receipts with the focus of a detective. Fasten your seatbelts. It's about to get bumpier. Might need a map for this turn. Mr. Harvey, feeling duped, questions the baby's paternity after discovering Ms. Jett tagged another man in the newborn's social media pictures while still shopping around romantically. This bombshell leads him to doubt everything about their connection. The next part is a doozy. Stakes are high and getting higher. Mr. Harvey argues he financially supported Ms. Jett through her pregnancy, despite the murky waters of their relationship and his doubts about being the father. Ms. Jett, on the other hand, is not having it and disputes the extent of his contributions. The plot thickens, and you'll want to see how this unfolds.
Money order right here.
Your Honor, he has not given money.
And only have evidence for that. So she's going, yeah, he gave it, she got it. But if I ain't have evidence for that.
This episode takes an unexpected dive into the deep end. The court probes deeper into Mr. Harvey's paternity doubts, sparked by Ms. Jett's ongoing escapades and a flurry of red flags about the baby's daddy drama. The courtroom tension escalates as they dissect their short-lived, tempestuous affair. Brace yourself. Climax is up next.
You feel like turned his back on?
You can cut the tension with a knife. As the hearing drags on, the emotional, desperate need for a paternity test to sort out the mess. You won't believe the bombshell about to drop.
The multiple dudes, she got pregnant fast. The departure, I was still there, and the real departure when I stopped seeing the baby was because she had threatened me. That's the reason why I didn't go seeing the baby, is because she had threatened my life, you know?
Your Honor, he tried to make me walk home.
Do you think you're the father at this?
No, because she was married.
What?
Your Honor, I was in the middle of a divorce. I had been separated from my husband for over a year. We were in the middle of a divorce.
I could look in our face and sit here and say, not our father, and you're looking just like us. Like, are you serious? And then you look, after all that, you should have inquired about this and made sure that the other two.
She would tell me one minute she's pregnant by me. She'd tell me, I asked her, what's the reason you got hickeys on your neck? And she tells me,
really?
A guy that's at her mom's complex pushed her up against the washing machine and put hickeys on her neck.
Really?
Now, that didn't fly with me.
The case of Todd versus Foster is officially underway, presided over by Judge Lake. Ms. Todd is dragging her former beau, Mr. Foster, to court to prove he's the daddy of her 4-month-old daughter, Selena, all because he got cold feet about the wedding after questioning the kiddo's paternity.
You were suing your former fiance, Mr. Foster, to prove he fathered your 4-month-old daughter. You say he called off the wedding paternity doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Foster throws down the gauntlet, voicing his paternity doubts, thanks to Ms. Todd's bombshell confession of a little side hustle during the baby-making window. Ms. Todd owns up to her escapades, which supposedly started as a harmless night out, but clearly escalated.
So, Mr. Foster, you called off the wedding.
Miss Todd, we was engaged. The reason why I called it off was because it was one day, friend of hers, she wanted to go hang out. Miss Todd told me that it was her friend, his girlfriend, so I'm like, okay, I don't got nothing to worry about.
In a plot twist worthy of a soap opera, Mr. Foster details his discovery of some saucy texts on Ms. Todd's phone, which set all the alarm bells about her fidelity and the baby's paternity. The texts were more than friendly, igniting a wildfire of drama and doubt.
I normally don't go through phone at all. Her phone just kept on buzzing, and a text message said, it was good, I want some more. In my mind, I'm thinking like, be my fiance, seeing this.
Went out with a friend and stayed out all night?
Yes, Your Honor.
So did you sleep with him that night?
Yes, Your Honor.
Under the stern gaze of Judge Lake, Ms. Todd spills the beans on not just one, but multiple nights of indiscretions. She details another rendezvous with the same gentleman, again with protection, further tangling the web of who's the dad.
Go to the store, get something to eat, then we went back to the plate, and it just happened. We used protection.
Sound like y'all was planning it to me. So was this the only time you had sex? You didn't know that, Mr. Foster?
This is my first time ever hearing about the second time.
Mr. Foster recounts the whiplash of feeling joy at the pregnancy news, only to be slammed by memories of Ms. Todd's cheating spree. This bombshell led him to ditch the wedding plans and question whether he was indeed the father.
Did you tell the other guy you were pregnant?
It was a possibility that he wasn't the father. So no, I did not tell the other person. He found out on pictures on Facebook.
Did he ever think he was the father? Because you know protection is not 100%.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
As the emotional stakes rise, Mr. Foster confesses his inner turmoil about signing the birth certificate amidst his doubts, driven by a longing to be the father he never had. His tale is a tearjerker, showing just how deep the roots of personal history can go.
The reason why was because I was the only guy that was there that had stepped up.
So you came to the birth. At that moment, you just stepped up, or did you say, I really think I'm this child's father now?
Well, it was like more, I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna be a man since Mrs. Todd is staying with us.
But you did not believe the child was yours.
Mr. Foster whips out proof of their engagement, throwing a curveball that contradicts Ms. Todd's timeline of events. This piece of evidence adds layers to their already complicated love saga and the paternity mystery.
We was already engaged for her birthday is in the summertime. If I'm not mistaken, it was cold out when the guy came and come and get her.
Outside when he came.
And you see the wedding cake right there? That's on her birthday.
Oh, and there's the ring.
August 8th.
So now, does that refresh your memory? Were you engaged when you had this man come pick you up?
Ms. Foster, aka Mama Bear, steps into the fray, laying out why she suspects her son isn't the father, based on Ms. Todd's own words and a push for a DNA test to clear the air. The family drama intensified, dragging everyone through an emotional gauntlet.
As I was saying, I told her that she needs to take a DNA test with this guy. Family members of hers were calling me, let me know that this guy was the father. He didn't want to be involved. My son, I said, if you're going to be with her, you might as well marry her and get over the fact that the child may not be yours.
Ready for the big reveal? The tension hits its peak as Judge Lake unfurls the DNA test results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Foster, you are her father.
Oh,
I told you was her father.
Can you believe this drama unfolding right here? Mr. Roll asserts he is not the father of Miss Gadelian's twin daughters, adamant in his belief that her infatuation is the only reason she's pointing the finger at him. He paints a picture of Miss Gadelian's behavior as over-the-top obsessive, detailing her relentless presence around him and her sneaky snapshot tactics. If you thought this was juicy, just wait until you hear what's up next.
Mr. Roll, you are here to prove you are not father of Miss Gadelian's twin daughters. You say she's infatuated with you, and that's the reason she wants her babies on you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did that just happen? Out of the blue, Miss Gadelian stands her ground, confidently declaring that Mr. Roll is undoubtedly the father of her twins. She paints a heart-wrenching picture of abandonment, detailing how he left her to fend for herself with 2 babies, her heart shattered into pieces. The drama ramps up from here, so keep your eyes peeled.
You say there is no question Mr. Roll is the father of your twins. You say he left you with 2 babies and a broken heart.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wasn't that a plot twist? In a turn of events in court, Mr. Roll dives deep into Miss Gadelian's so-called obsessive antics, accusing her of taking countless photos of him without his permission and practically haunting his workplace. This revelation dives into the nitty-gritty of their complicated interactions, highlighting a serious clash over personal boundaries and alleged over-the-top behavior. Buckle up, because the courtroom revelations are about to get even more intense.
Your Honor, she's obsessed with me. She would take pictures of me. We would sit there, she'll walk past my job, staring at me. Then when me and my ex broke up, I seen just numbers of pictures that I never seen before. I didn't even know it was being taken.
You said you saw pictures you never knew were being taken.
Did you catch that curveball? Miss Gadelian retraces the seemingly innocent beginnings of their romance, starting with lighthearted flirtations during work breaks, evolving into more meaningful social media banter. She emphasizes the normalcy of their budding relationship, spotlighting the mutual interest that gradually scaled up. You won't believe what happens next, so stay tuned.
On breaks and stuff, I would go over to his job and get drinks or whatever. Player, you would say. He would flirt with everybody there. He was flirting with me. I was flirting. We started writing on Facebook and whatnot, because after a while, he invited me over to his house.
Ready for another shocker? Amidst the courtroom tension, Mr. Roll drops a bombshell by admitting he wasn't exactly single during their interactions, revealing a girlfriend in the background all along. This bombshell opens up a can of worms about the true nature of their relationship, leaving Miss Gadelian feeling misled and revealing Mr. Roll's cavalier attitude toward his flirtations, despite being committed elsewhere. And guess what? There's more drama just around the corner.
When she sent me the message on Facebook, I had pictures of me and my ex together. We all would go trips, we'd do vacation. So she was well aware I was in a relationship when she hit me up. She was well aware. She went through my Facebook and was able to find out where I was at, how to message me. She seen the pictures of me and my ex.
You won't believe this twist. After discovering her pregnancy, Miss Gadelian faces Mr. Roll's cold shoulder as he expresses fear over how the twins would upend his life. This pivotal moment uncovers Mr. Roll's initial denial of paternity and showcases the emotional roller coaster Miss Gadelian endured, contemplating the daunting prospect of single motherhood. The plot thickens, so don't go anywhere.
I asked him, I said, what would you do if I was pregnant? And he said it would ruin my life. I said, well, then never mind. He says, you're pregnant, aren't you? And I said, you know what, I am. Don't worry about it.
She told me she had to tell me something. I didn't find out. Actually, like 2 or 3 days later, what she wanted to tell me, that's when she told me she was pregnant.
Here comes a game-changing revelation. The courtroom digs deeper, uncovering that Miss Gadelian was technically still married, albeit separated, adding layers to the paternity puzzle. Mr. Roll seizes this detail to bolster his doubts about fatherhood, hinting at potential other liaisons by Miss Gadelian. The stakes are high, and you'll want to see what's revealed revealed next.
Do you think you're the father at this?
No, because she was married.
What?
Your Honor, I was in the middle of a divorce. I had been separated from my husband for over a year. We were in the middle of a divorce that I was trying to divorce last a very long time.
And I was told she said slept with someone else. Like, in my mind, I'm sitting there like, it can't be mine. It's from people I work with, and also people that work, partners she work at also.
Can this get any wilder? As the heat turns up, it's disclosed that another man not only signed the birth certificate, but was also present at the twins' birth. This bomb drops amid escalating tensions and unresolved conflicts between Mr. Roll and Miss Gadelian, with both navigating a minefield of betrayal, responsibility, and past decisions refuse to stay buried. Hang tight, because the courtroom drama is far from over.
In my mind, as another man on the birth certificate, another man was there for the birth, another man cut the umbilical cord, so in my mind, I would have some part. You would have reached out to me at some point in time.
I asked him if it was okay before it was even done, and he said he did not care.
Approaching you and saying, look, I have a boyfriend now and he wants to sign a birth certificate.
Hold on to your seats for this jaw-dropping moment. Into the courtroom steps Mr. Taylor, taking on the role of father to the twins amidst the ongoing dispute about their paternity. His commitment to the children, irrespective of biological ties, starkly contrasts with Mr. Roll's reluctant denial, illustrating the profound differences in their views on fatherhood and moral responsibility. The climax is on its way, and you won't want to miss it.
You signed the birth certificate, these beautiful children, when they were born, and you were also at the hospital Miss Gadelian delivered.
I was. Me and Sarah had built a relationship. I knew she was pregnant. Obviously, I knew they weren't mine. There was rumors that they were Willie's. There was rumors saying that they weren't. After our relationship, I didn't care. I just knew that the man wasn't around.
Are you ready for the grand finale? Tension reaches its peak as Judge Lake prepares to unveil the DNA test results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Roll, you are their father.
Right out of the gate, things are heating up. Miss Palmer and her twin sister storm into court, guns blazing, ready to throw down over who their real daddy is. They're not just here to stir up drama. They want DNA proof that Mr. Palmer, the man on the defense bench, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, is their biological father. Despite their fiery entrance, they're on different pages about what they actually want from him, which only adds to the soap opera vibe. Mr. Palmer, with a face that could curdle milk, swears up and down it's not him because their mom was already pregnant when they met. As the twins raise their eyebrows, so do we. Grab your popcorn, folks. This is just the warm-up.
Petitioning the court for a paternity test to prove the defendant is your biological father. That it is impossible for you to be the biological father of the Palmer twins.
Can you believe what just happened? Miss Palmer is up next, spilling her guts with a mix of heartbreak and a dash of righteous fury. She's absolutely gutted that Mr. Palmer, a man she's called dad, in her heart if not in person, is now denying everything. Flashbacks to childhood memories flood the courtroom as she recounts those fleeting moments they share, painting a picture of a dad who's there 1 minute and ghosting the next. Her twin backs her up, adding her own color commentary to the sad family portrait. As the tension mounts, you'll want to stick around because the tea is about to spill.
I was playing in the backyard with my sister's father, and I ran to the front of the yard, and so happened he pulls up. Hey, twins. And he zoomed off. I remember at 8 years old, him coming.
Hold the phone. Did he just say that? In a jaw-dropping turn, Mr. Palmer throws down the gauntlet, denying he's ever laid eyes on these two. The twins are having none of it, serving up a heated rebuttal with a side of, "Are you kidding me?" This standoff has the courtroom buzzing as they detail every chance encounter with a man who seems to have a PhD in hit-and-run parenting. Their frustration is palpable, and Mr. Palmer's denial are about as sturdy as a house of cards in a windstorm. Don't touch that die, because the sparks are about to fly even higher.
It was a time when we were 11 years old, right? Came home from, then you have a big brown van when we came home with our
something wrong with this
As
brain,
soon as we walked in, this man, you guys look just like he was sitting at our kitchen table.
Just when you thought it couldn't get more tangled, here comes the Backstory Express. The court dives into the nitty-gritty of timelines and possible deceptions, with Mr. Palmer narrating a tale that sounds more like a daytime TV plot than real life. He claims he was duped about the pregnancy timeline, using it as his get-out-of-fatherhood free card. The details pile up, and so do the doubts, as everyone tries to keep up with his story that's slipperier than an eel. The stage is set, my friends, for revelations that might just flip the script.
Here's number one. She's already pregnant.
My mother was a
You better
virgin.
watch out.
Yeah.
This before we even talk.
Well,
As I
start
took her
talking to a
home with my
pregnant woman.
sister, they worked together. I dropped them off. We got to know each other a little bit.
Wait, did he just drop a family tree bombshell? Mr. Palmer, perhaps in a bid to distract from the current drama, shares that he's got enough kids to start his own small village. This little gem adds layers to the mystery. How does a man with a double-digit brood keep all his stories straight? The implications are as juicy as they are complex, with family ties that could probably strangle a soap opera cast. Fasten your seatbelts. We're heading into a family feud that could make Thanksgiving look like a tea party.
Did I ever had a DNA done on? And that was because I asked for it because I was 60 years old and had a baby baby.
Still having kids.
My daddy have 32. And the only reason I asked for DNA at that time because I wasn't sure.
You'll need a scorecard to keep track of this emotional roller coaster. The twins lay it all out, their voices thick with emotion as they detail a lifetime of missed father-daughter dances and unanswered birthday wishes. They paint a vivid picture of a father-shaped hole in their lives, making a compelling case for Mr. Palmer to step up and face the music. Their heartfelt plea tugs at the heartstrings, maybe even a juror or two. But will it sway the man in question as we gear up for the next bombshell? Remember, the plot always thickens in paternity court.
Since she got in contact with this man, my sister, that this man has said we're not his kids.
And she said
and this man could look in our face and sit here and say not our father. After all that, you should have inquired about kids and made sure that the other two, besides the 10.
Here's a twist. Enter stage right, Mr. Palmer's daughter, who could double as his public relations manager. She's all praises and defense for her dad, throwing a lifeline to a man currently swimming in hot water. Claiming her father's always been Mr. Honest, she presents a stark contrast to the twins' narrative of neglect and abandonment. As she stands by her dad, courtroom is split. Whom to believe? Keep watching, because the family drama is about to reach soap opera levels.
These girls feel like my dad is their father and he hasn't been in their life. If he had any doubt in his mind, I'm sure he would have stepped up to the plate. I'm sure he would have asked for DNA. So
and when I reached out to
we heard about it. We heard, Mama told me as a kid that
just when you think you've heard it all, another Palmer offspring enters the fray, echoing his sister's sentiments with a solid dad's no deadbeat declaration. This sibling tag team attempts to shore up their father's crumbling credibility, insisting he's as reliable as gravity. Yet, as they recount family tales that conspicuously exclude the twins, the plot thickens enough to cut with a knife. The stage is set for a showdown that could rival any season finale. Don't go anywhere. The climax is up next.
I've always known about the girls, I've always heard two family members about the girls, but I've never been able to. I actually, since we share the same last name, I claimed him as my sister. I mean, I've never laid eyes on him either. This is my first time seeing him. He's always been consistent with his story.
Cue the dramatic music. It's envelope time. As the judge grips the results that everyone's been waiting for, you can cut the tension with a chainsaw. Will the DNA test prove Mr. Palmer is the father, or will it vindicate his vehement denials? Either way, the family tree is about to get some new branches or have a few chopped off. As we brace for the big reveal, remember, in paternity court, expect the unexpected. What happens next could rewrite everything.
You are their father. You genuinely look surprised, Mr. Palmer, and emotional. How do you feel?
He would have been there.
In a surprising twist right at the start, Ms. Murphy claims that after a brief but passionate relationship with Mr. Miles, she became pregnant, and now that he is married, he wants to deny their 3-year-old son. She passionately expresses her frustration and disappointment with Mr. Miles' refusal to acknowledge their child. Strap yourselves in, because Mr. Miles' rebuttal is just as jaw-dropping.
Passionate relationship offended Mr. Miles, and then you became pregnant. Now you say he's married and won't forget he has a 3-year-old son.
Yes, Your Honor.
In an explosive response, Mr. Miles firmly denies paternity of the child, suggesting that whispers and rumors from friends and family hint at another man being the biological father. The audience gasps in surprise at his adamant denial. Keep your eyes peeled. Ms. Murphy's comeback will have you on the edge of your seat.
The only person you're trying to forget is Ms. Murphy.
Yes, Your Honor.
You deny her son and say her friends and family have told you another man is his biological father.
As the plot thickens, Ms. Murphy recounts how Mr. Miles reacted negatively when she announced her pregnancy. She accuses him of shirking his responsibilities, pointing out his refusal to support or even recognize their child, which earns a round of applause from the audience. Things are about to get even spicier, with accusations flying back and forth.
I don't want you to have this baby. This is not okay to make that baby, but he can't be man enough to take care of it. The paternity test,
And that's not
any
true.
other way, he said he didn't have the money for it. If that's the case, Your Honor, we would not be here. It would already been taken care of.
Just when you thought it couldn't get more heated, Mr. Miles throws a curveball by accusing Ms. Murphy of being unfaithful, citing an incident involving hickeys from another man. Ms. Murphy vehemently denies these claims, insisting she was faithful and deeply invested in Mr. Miles during their relationship. Buckle up. The judge is about to step in and shake things up.
1 minute she's pregnant by me. She'd tell me, I asked her, what's the reason you got hickeys on your neck?
To lie. When I was talking to him, I was only talking to him because I was so busy. I really liked him at the time that we were seeing each other. I was not talking to anybody.
With confusion hanging in the air, Judge Lake delves into the nature of their relationship, with Mr. Miles describing it as casual and non-committal, which starkly contrasts Ms. Murphy's narrative of their past involvement. The twists keep coming, and what follows will leave you questioning everything.
We were cool, we were friends, I wouldn't say it was a relationship. Yeah, her family members told me specifically
the family members that you were sleeping with.
They told me that she was getting around.
Family members that he was sleeping with told him
Miss Murphy, she knew that.
In a critical turn of events, Judge Lake lambasts the lack of convincing evidence from Mr. Miles regarding his paternity doubts, emphasizing that trivial incidents incidents like hickeys are hardly a basis for denying fatherhood. The stage is set for a dramatic twist as a new testimony turns the tide.
Because I know what type of woman I was dealing with, the type of stuff that you let me see this stuff.
You don't got no stuff.
The hickeys on her
Never had hickeys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So move forward from that.
My evidence is that every male and female know what sex smells like. She came over to my house.
Raising the stakes, Mrs. Miles, the current wife of Mr. Miles, steps up to testify, shedding light on the timeline of her relationship with him and her discomfort with the chaotic introduction to Ms. Murphy's child situation. What she reveals next will definitely stir the pot further.
Come on now.
And the child is 3 years old.
I went over there nowhere.
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. He's not even out.
I know nothing about Tanisha or Takori at all. I found out we got together in 2012.
In a heartfelt moment that might just soften the hardest of hearts, Mr. Narvaez, who has acted as a father figure to the child since he was 2 months old, shares his deep emotional connection with the child, asserting that his role in the child's life is unwavering, regardless of the biological ties. The moment of truth is up next, and it's a game changer.
Not biologically, but like everything he know, I teach him. He got favorite colors. We play games. I taught him his colors. I taught him his numbers, his ABC. When he wake up in the morning, the first thing he do, he wake me up. Daddy, I love you. Good morning, Daddy.
In a climactic reveal, the tension hits its peak as Judge Lake reads the DNA results, confirming that
a 3-year-old Takori Murphy, Mr. Kiba Miles, you are his father.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have no reason why.
Can you believe we're just kicking things off? The session begins with a formal invitation to sit. The case Green versus Duncan is announced, spotlighting a paternity dispute involving a 2-year-old named Angel Bryant. Judge acknowledges the audience and participants, setting a serious yet open tone for the proceedings. Buckle up, because we're just getting started on this roller coaster.
This is the case of Green versus Duncan.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Mr. Green,
yes, ma'am.
You claim your right as a potential father to the child in question today, 2-year-old Angel Bryant, were basically stolen from you.
Right out of the gate, the stakes are high. Mr. Green asserts his rights as a potential father have been compromised. He expresses doubts about his paternity since the child's conception, but has still provided financial support. Despite his uncertainties, Mr. Green continues to fulfill financial responsibilities just in case Angel is indeed his daughter. You won't want to miss what's coming up next.
You say at 56 years old and having never fathered a child previously, yet you maintain financial responsibility for Angel just in case she's indeed yours.
This part's a real jaw-dropper. Ms. Duncan admits to having been intimate with another man during her relationship with Mr. Green, but insists Mr. Green is the father because the other man used protection. Shockingly, she reveals that both men are currently paying child support, eliciting gasps from the audience. Hang tight, because there's more where that came from.
To sleeping with another man while with Mr. Green, but say you're positive is Angel's father because the other man used protection. Green is solely supporting the child, and you admit that both men are currently paying child support.
Here's where things start to twist and turn. The backstory of how Mr. Green met Ms. Duncan unfolds. They started their relationship cautiously, eventually becoming intimate. Ms. Duncan acknowledges she was not fully truthful about her other relationships, increasing the complexity of the paternity issue. Keep watching, the plot thickens.
I was out, of course. Staggering a little bit, walking home alone from the club.
Then shortly thereafter, you guys began dating?
I don't have sex. I'm not a sexually active person. We did not sleep together, and this was about 3 months later.
Waited, which is good, got to know one another, and then you had a sexual relationship.
That's correct.
This segment turns up the drama notch. Ms. Duncan describes her unexpected pregnancy discovery. She initially informed Mr. Green, who was stunned by the news, given his age and lack of prior children. This moment intensifies when Mr. Green mentions his reason for pursuing clarity in court, wanting the truth to come out. You'll definitely want to see what happens next.
They took me to the emergency room and they told me that, and also, congratulations, you're 9.5 weeks pregnant.
Really? She was the first person you called?
Yes.
And so what was your reaction? Were you happy?
I just couldn't believe it. I was in shock.
You were 54 years old.
Yes.
You never had another child.
No, Your Honor.
And just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, Mr. Green recounts the moment Ms. Duncan hinted the child might not be his, which came around 6 or 7 months into the pregnancy. This revelation, discussed, leads to a heated exchange about the timing and truthfulness of Ms. Duncan's admission, deepening the emotional and legal entanglements. Strap in for the revelation that's about to unfold.
And she told me, she said, well, the baby may not be yours. That's after 6 or 7 months.
Of pregnancy or
yes.
when the baby was born?
6 6 or 7 months during pregnancy. And that's why I found out the baby may be.
Yes,
that's
I told
just
you
what those
that. I
exact
told
words.
you that I was what?
Okay,
3 months. Now you're
7
gonna
months.
tell I'm 6 or 7
You was
months.
about to have the baby.
Every revelation here adds a new layer of complexity and shock. The drama peaks when Mr. Green discusses the birth of the child, noting his absence due to not being informed, a point of contention and sorrow as he missed a significant life event. Miss Duncan admits her mistake in hastily assigning paternity on the birth certificate, acknowledging it may have prematurely defined familial roles. Next up, the emotional stakes are through the roof.
I felt you didn't want no child, and the man.
Well, you could have left it blank. If your heart, if you know who the dad is, you can let it be signed. Get what you can
I'm
get
not
from him.
playing with him.
Get what you can get from me.
No, oh no. Really giving me nothing.
I know that. How would you feel if I do the same thing to you if I was vice versa?
You.
Brace yourself. The moment of truth is near. The climax occurs from as the judge prepares to deliver the DNA test results, a moment filled with high emotional stakes.
Mr. Ronald Green, you are not her father.
Can you handle this curveball? Ms. Manship's devastating discovery and search. At age 10, Ms. Manship's world turned upside down when she learned that her dad was actually not her biological father. Stunned and devastated, this bombshell kicked off a 20-year scavenger hunt to find her real dad, with nothing more than an old photo, a name that might as well have been a needle in a haystack. Buckle up, the emotional roller coaster is just picking up speed.
Ms. Manship, at the age of 10, you were shocked and devastated to learn that your dad was not your biological father. That began your 20-year search to find the man your mother claimed is your father. After your exhaustive search to find him, you came up with nothing.
Just when all seemed lost, the court miraculously tracked down Mr. Lau, who's about to make an entrance and meet Ms. Manship and her mother for the first time in over 3 decades since their dramatic split. The room is charged with tension and anticipation, like a finale of a reality show. Get ready, because the drama is about to dial up a notch.
Well, Ms. Manship, this court has located him, and he will join us in a moment. This will be the first time meeting him, first time seeing him since they broke up more than 30 years ago. But before we bring in the defendant, Mr. Lau,
in walks Mr. Lau, totally clueless about the existence of Ms. Manship until a recent bombshell phone call from the court. His bewildered expression could rival a sitcom scene. He denies any knowledge of her, setting the stage for some jaw-dropping moments. The next part is a tear-jerker. Make sure you have tissues handy.
When the court contacted me just recently.
You never knew she existed.
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
But you did have a relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
You remember that. I have to
yes.
ask, is this you in this photo?
Yes, Your Honor.
We know we at least have the right Mr. Lau. How does that make you feel, Ms. Manship?
Relieved.
Ms. Manship shares her tireless efforts to find Mr. Lau, from internet deep dives to asking strangers in chat rooms if they knew her dad. True detective in the making. Her dedication is both heartbreaking and oddly inspiring. Don't go anywhere. You'll want to see how Mr. Lau reacts to all this.
Since my early teens, I've searched everywhere. I've searched phone books. I've searched online. I've asked people, and I've never had a response from, in the past 20 years, nobody has ever given me even a single detail or where he lived, if he has any family. I don't know anything.
You had no hope until this court tracked him down.
Yes.
The plot thickens as Ms. Lutman dives into the soap opera of her past relationships, with Mr. Laup and another mysterious man making the paternity question as clear as mud. As they untangle the timeline of who was where when, the suspense builds. It's like a reality TV show cliffhanger, and you'll be on the edge of your seat.
Well, I only wanted to keep one.
You did?
I was really happy with this man.
You were very happy with Mr. Lau?
Didn't want to stay out of the picture. He said he had to get back to Arkansas and take care of business. Me and my ex got back together, and about a month later, I started getting symptoms, and I was with my ex till I figured it was my ex's baby. So we just continued all the way up until I had her.
Hold your popcorn. It's the big reveal. Paternity results revealed. Drum roll, please. Jerome hands over the paternity test results, and boom.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lau, you are the father.